What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday we did have Sony release their financial reports for this previous quarter, and they had some interesting results when it comes to the monthly active users going down, but the revenue setting new records. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Eidos Montreal and how it looks like they are starting up development on a requested game series to return. And we'll also be going over Microsoft as they shared some new details on just how much money they're losing on the Xbox Series X and S. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. We're going to start today with Xbox Game Pass games to start off the month of November. We can head over here to news.xbox.com. They have this little chart at the top here showing off all the different games. And we'll start with games that are available right now. The Legend of Tynding, that's cloud, console, and PC. The Walking Dead: A New Frontier, it's complete season on PC. And then they also have The Walking Dead: Michonne, the complete season on PC. Moving to November 3rd, we have Ghost Song, cloud, console, and PC. Football Manager 2023 on PC, and then also Football Manager 2023 console, cloud, console, and PC. That all happening November 8th. Return to Monkey Island, cloud, console, and PC. This going into Xbox Game Pass Day 1 on November 8th. Also, that will be available on the PlayStation 5. It has already released, obviously, on the Switch. So good to see that make its way to all different consoles there. Vampire Survivors, that's November 8th. And people have told me I should check this game out. It came up on the Spawncast at one point. I was like, it looks kind of weird. People seem to really like this game. So, hey, it's dropping into Game Pass. Might be a good time to try it out. They do mention it's already released on PC Game Pass. Moving up to November 15th, we do have Pentiment, cloud, console, and PC. Some real talent behind this one. It might be worth a Game Pass download even if you're curious just from the art style and setup. We also have Somerville, console, and PC. And some games that will be leaving November 15th includes Art of Rally, Fae Tactics, Next Space Rebel, One Step from Eden, and Supperland. So overall, pretty good way to start off the month of September with games like Return to Monkey Island, Vampire Survivor, and Pentiment. Certainly some interesting games to try out. Also, we do know that Sackboy: A Big Adventure released on PC recently, and there seems to be a bit of a trend with some of these ports from Sony now, and that is kind of maybe the waning popularity, even the shock of Sony first-party games going to PC. But for example, we can see this posted up by Push Square, just comparing some of the different games that have made the jump to PC and the highest concurrent number of players, with God of War having the highest at 73,529, and Sackboy: A Big Adventure, unfortunately, having the lowest at being 610 concurrent players. That's the highest it's achieved so far. I mean, even Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection just getting under 11,000. I mean, it's interesting because Uncharted, big series on PlayStation, not exactly super popular, I guess, on PC, but Sackboy, I mean, I don't know if anyone expected it to go there and just immediately explode up the sales charts. It's a fun game, but I think that's one that people will continue to wait for a big Steam sale to check it out. Also, Sony's marketing wasn't exactly great for Sackboy. I don't believe this is necessarily a concern around Sony's ports to PC and future performance, just that they didn't really seem to care to tell people that Sackboy was coming out until basically it came out. Oh, and we did get a new firmware that was released for the Nintendo Switch. This detailed over on Nintendo's customer support page with version 15.0.1. Not much here to go over, to be honest. They said resolved an issue causing error code 2181-1000 to appear, resolved an issue preventing screenshots during specific in-game scenes for some games, and general system stability improvements to enhance the user's experience. Oatmeal Dome also took a look with at the update through data mining. Didn't find much other than bug fixes and I believe an update to the bad word list. I'm noticing there hasn't been like a meaningful big update for the firmware itself, adding new features, so maybe we're due for that, but either way, certainly worth turning on your Switch and updating to the latest. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony's recent reports for Q2 of this current fiscal year, that being for 2022. That would cover July, August, and September. They had some interesting details in here, specifically around their active users when it comes to the PlayStation Plus subscription, and the differences, what they've been going through when it comes to the currency exchange rate that they did talk about when they raised the price on the PlayStation. Let's head over here. This was posted up on Reset Era, a very good thread, by the way, detailing a lot of this with charts and everything. I will link to this down below if you want to dive a little deeper into all of this, but I'm mostly going to be focusing on the gaming and network services because that is PlayStation. But this set a new record for Q2 revenue ever for PlayStation and for any platform holder for that matter, including Microsoft and Nintendo there, 720 billion yen. But the thing that I noticed here is previously, so last Q2, fiscal year 21, they had 645 billion yen, but converted over to US dollars from the yen at that time was more money than what they are getting now, converting from yen to dollars currently at $5.21 billion. And again, that's something that Sony talked about when they raised the price of the PlayStation. It's where they're trying to navigate this with that kind of volume. The currency exchange is certainly going to affect things, and they doubled down on that when talking with investors later on. They did tell us that they shipped 3.3 million PlayStation 5s, which is flat from Q2 of fiscal year 21, but technically behind what the PlayStation 4 did at this same time in its lifespan, being 4 million systems. And in fact, the PS5 is tracking behind the PlayStation 4 by a healthy margin. I mean, 25 million PS5s have shipped currently. At the same time in its lifespan, the PS4 at 29.3 million. So the PS5 is going to have some catching up to do, and it's one of the reasons that Sony is sticking to their current forecast of about 18 million consoles this fiscal year, which they've shipped 5.7 million so far. That means they're going to be loading up a lot of systems for this holiday to make a big push. Good news, by the way, for people who are still looking for a PS5 for the holidays and are maybe concerned about just overall scarcity. I don't think that's going to be the case. It appears that Sony is going to be pushing a lot of these systems out the door. So keep an eye on that PlayStation Direct website. I feel like it's going to be in stock pretty frequently, and obviously follow different people on Twitter like Wario64 and Jake Randall. I'm sure they'll keep you up to date when those things drop. Overall, for software, 62.5 million full PS4 and PS5 games sold, which was a pretty big decrease of 18.19% year over year, down from the 76.4 million. But the thing that caught my eye here was their network services revenue and PlayStation Plus subscribers trends. So take a look at this chart here, all the way on the right for Q2. You will see a drop when it comes to the number of PlayStation Plus subscribers year over year, from 47.3 million down to 45.4. But this is the most they've made in terms of network services revenue ever, like completely. And a lot of that, I'm sure, has to do with the amount that they are now charging for some of the higher tiers with PlayStation Plus. Think of the premium and the extra tier. So technically, less people are paying for PlayStation Plus, but they're taking in more money per person. Along with the PlayStation Plus subscribers going down, their overall monthly active users for PlayStation went down as well. And according to PlayStation, when they were talking with investors, the big thing they were mentioning, one was kind of the lack of overall big third-party games pushing multiplayer, but two, people are going outside. So they're finding other ways to spend their time and different things that they're doing for entertainment outside of just playing their PlayStation. So to me, that just seems like something they're throwing out there to try to explain this at all to investors. I think this holiday will be big for Sony because there will be a lot of PlayStation 5s out there. I mean, listen, they still set the record for the best Q2 ever by a platform holder, so they're not exactly hurting right now, but you can see the effect that the currency exchange is having on them with the yen and the dollar. I think for the holiday season, though, they're going to post some big numbers. Call of Duty is just out of control, which we'll talk about here a bit more, and I think they're looking to ship 10 million, maybe a few more PS5 systems for this holiday period. So it's going to get absolutely out of control. And hopefully that means for people who are still looking for PlayStation 5 systems, you'll be able to find one for the holidays. Next up, let's talk about Eidos Montreal and Embracer Group, because we had some new information around maybe a game series that could be making a return. Let's take a look here. This posted up by Jason Schreier over on Twitter and Bloomberg, where he says Embracer has shut down, I think it's Onama, Formerly Square Enix Montreal, which announced its new name just 3 weeks ago. Some Onama staff will move to Eidos Montreal. Eidos canceled an unannounced game. Eidos working with Xbox on games like Fable. So interesting stuff there, because we already know that Crystal Dynamics is working with Xbox on Perfect Dark, but it looks like their relationship continues to expand with Eidos working with Xbox on Fable. I do wonder if Xbox wasn't in that acquisition, well, Microsoft, with Activision, if they would have looked to scoop up some of those studios, because they obviously have a relationship here that they're trusting them to work on things like Fable and Perfect Dark. Jason goes on to say Onama was part of the acquisition that saw Embracer take control of Eidos and the Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and Legacy of Kain franchises. The company informed staff at 2 p.m. Eastern meeting today that Onama is shutting down as the company pivots to focus only on PC and console. Eidos Montreal, which remains intact, canceled the Stranger Things-inspired Kids on Bikes game that was rumored recently. They're now working on, a new IP, which they had already kind of mentioned this, I believe, before, a new Deus Ex game very, very early, and co-dev partnerships with Xbox, including Fable. So obviously the one that sticks out to a lot of people is that Deus Ex appears to be making a return. It being very, very early, not shocking to hear that, considering before it sounded like they didn't have one of those in development, but we know that Embracer was kind of asking people which intellectual properties you would like to see come back, and they even name-dropped things like Legacy of Kain. So the fact that we seem to have had a pivot here behind the scenes, and them then moving to have a Deus Ex game that probably won't be coming out for 3 to 4 years if it's very, very early on, makes me think that maybe a Legacy of Kain is going to be going into development, or at least has been thought of right now. So interesting stuff there. I am curious about their new IP, as that appears to be the next thing up for them. But yeah, the relationship with Microsoft, a lot going on right now with Embracer and Eidos Montreal to look forward to. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft, the Xbox Series X, S, and how much money they're losing on each one of those systems, which we all know when new hardware comes out, typically a company will lose money on it, looking to make money in the back end of that system's life as they build up that initial install base. Well, Microsoft, that being Phil Spencer, talked with CNBC and just told us how much money they're losing on the different consoles. We can see this posted up over on CNBC, saying today, Spencer said Microsoft gives people choice in how much they'd like to spend if they want consoles. The company offers the $499 Xbox Series X and the less powerful Xbox Series S. Microsoft subsidizes the cost to the tune of $100 to $200 per console, with the expectation that it will make the money back on sales of accessories and storefront purchases. It's up to gamers if they'd like to pay $10 or $15 per month for Game Pass subscriptions. They can also buy games outright or play certain games for free. So interesting stuff, $100 to $200 per console. And yeah, right now especially, I mean, we see Sony have to raise their prices. It would have had to have gotten to this level for them to be like, whoa, this is a bit out of control. We have to move here. Microsoft, on the other hand, I feel like they would eat this cost for a while. And even though they mention the potential for raising prices, I don't necessarily believe that would be for consoles. I think there's many other avenues they can go down, whether it's their subscription service with Game Pass or even the games themselves. They just kind of let them go to $70. Hey, they're just trying to match the market and keep things current, right? That's at least the way that I would try to sell it if I was Microsoft, making that move with something like Redfall, which I do believe Redfall will be the next game up. Forza is right there in the springtime, and then maybe Starfield over the summer as they go into the holiday season. So we'll see when those Xbox Series specific games start dropping if they make the move to 70, but I guess technically nothing's off the table in this current environment with exchange rates being all over the place and different things happening around the world. They could raise the price of the Xbox Series X or even the Series S. I just don't necessarily think that's the direction Microsoft wants to go. And yeah, they'll eat $100 to $200 per console if they have to. We've heard companies like Sony, take a bath on the PS3 in its first several years. And we even heard that Microsoft lost, over $1 billion or something on the Xbox 360 with the entire Red Ring situation. So maybe $100 to $200 isn't that crazy to think about. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It released on Friday, and it looks like we have some initial sales numbers and a press release that was pushed out by Activision just to talk about how well this game did in its first weekend. I mean, seriously, like 3 days, and we can see this posted up by Charlie Intel. Breaking news, Modern Warfare 2 is the fastest selling Call of Duty ever and surpassed $800 million in its opening weekend, beating out the previous record holder of Modern Warfare 3 in 2011. I mean, think back to 2011 for Modern Warfare 3, when the Xbox 360 and the PS3 were right about its peak, I would say, before we really started talking about the PS4 and the Xbox One. And I mean, Call of Duty was really big then. It's big now, but I mean, it was like, it felt next level back then, I guess. More players online in opening weekend than ever before in franchise history. I mean, think about that. In a weekend, you have an intellectual property that's strong enough to make almost $1 billion. That's wild stuff. If you're Microsoft, you're probably like, oh, why did they have to put this press release out? We're fighting with the CMA right now about how this isn't a big deal with the game and we'll keep it everywhere, but this isn't going to shift the market that much. And they go, wow, that's almost $1 billion in a weekend. Yeah, that'll change things up a bit if it goes to a platform holder. I will say though, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 has actually been a lot of fun to play. The multiplayer's been chaotic fun. The single player was good. I don't think it was incredible or anything like that. If you're a fan of Call of Duty Modern Warfare from 2019, I think you'll get a kick out of it though, with the different characters and the continuation of the story itself, and even the ending to it that seems to be setting up the big climax and conclusion to what I assume to just be the trilogy of this latest reimagining or reboot of the series. But hey, it's not shocking to say that Call of Duty once again absolutely crushing sales expectations, and I think we all know what's going to be at the top of the NPD charts for November. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. That goes up on the community tab, and you can vote in it, and then it'll be featured in the following day's Newswave video, which we can see here, where I say, what tier of PlayStation Plus are you currently subscribed to? 26% say Essential, 7% said Extra, 14% said Premium, and then 54% said I'm not currently subscribed to PlayStation Plus. I'm a little surprised on the Extra Premium split. I thought that would have been flipped around, but I did see some people mention in the comments that they thought Premium was going to be handled differently, as in there would be more classic games added, especially for PS1 and PS2, and it really hasn't happened. Looking up and down the offerings, I still think Extra is probably the best tier to subscribe to now, because they've been building that up kind of like I was hoping they would build up the classical side of PlayStation Plus with that premium tier. So here's hoping, I don't know, in the next month or two, all of a sudden they show up with a bunch of PS1 and PS2, PSP games, but with what we've known from Jim Ryan, I'm not exactly holding my breath. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Brad, saying the Hulk is my second choice, but I would love to see an Ant-Man game. I have always enjoyed games where you played from a tiny perspective. Pikmin, Minish Cap, Grounded, Army Men. Playing from that perspective as a superhero has a lot of potential. Yeah, I think Ant-Man, we could get a really unique game. That or Doctor Strange would probably produce the most unique games that would stand out from others around it. But like the Hulk would be pretty cool. When we had Ultimate Destruction, that was an absolute blast on the PS2 or the Xbox or any of that during that generation. It was just very interesting to see Hulk take tanks and turn them into boxing gloves, and you just destroy everything around you. I feel like Hulk would probably have the most notoriety when it comes to just overall sales with the mainstream, but Ant-Man could be one of those sleeper hits that would produce something really interesting. But I guess we'll see what that third game is. As we already know, Iron Man is being worked on, Black Panther is currently rumored, so anything's possible for that third one. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was Sony seemingly prepping a bunch of PS5 stock for the holidays based on their latest financial report. Are you someone looking for a system and crossing your fingers that you can find one then? And then also, what about Eidos Montreal apparently getting set for early development of a new Deus Ex game, and then Microsoft losing $100 to $200 on the Xbox Series X and S? Is that surprising? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.